Now let's try adding integers. Now in this part we have -3 plus 4, -8 plus -7, 13 plus -22. So we have all the possible situation: negative plus positive, negative plus negative, positive plus negative, and you should have known how to do positive plus positive already. If you don't know, then you should go back to topic 1 and retry it. But if you're good, let's move on. Now, in addition, when you're adding sign numbers, again, addition rule, it will not work for multiplication, division, or subtraction. We have different rules for that. For addition rules, we have two rules. So if we're adding two numbers with the same signs, either both positive or both negative, we add their absolute value and we keep their common signs. Rule 2 is, if we're adding two numbers with different signs, one is negative, one is positive, and the other is negative, or the other way around, we subtract their absolute value and we keep the sign of the bigger number. Bigger means the larger absolute value. If you don't, that's the reason why we learn how to compare numbers and the absolute value, so we know how to add integers or any sign numbers. Now let's have an example. -3 plus 4. So the first thing you do is you check if it has a plus sign. Again, this is not a positive 4, this is plus 4. That means we have a plus sign. Again, this rule will not work if this is not a plus. This rules only work if we have addition. Now, second step is we're going to check if they both share the same sign or they have different signs. This number has a negative and 4 has no sign. That means it's a positive. So that means we're adding a negative and a positive. So do they have the same sign or different signs? Different signs. So we're going to use rule 1 or rule 2? Rule 2. So again, we're going to subtract the absolute value of -3 and 4. So in this case, we're going to subtract -3 from 4, so it's going to be 4 minus 3. We're going to get 1. Now we're going to compare which one's larger, the absolute value of -3 or the absolute value of 4. In this case, 4 is larger. So that means we're going to use the sign of 4. In this case, it's positive. So -3 plus 4 is positive 1. Not a lot of steps. So it's very imperative, so you need to understand the rules. Let's have another example. -8 plus -7. Here, it has a plus sign, so we're going to use addition. Now we're going to look at the signs of the numbers. In this case, we have -8 and -7, and they do have the same signs. So we're going to use rule 1. Now we're going to simply add the absolute value of -8 and -7. So it's going to be 8 plus 7. We're going to get 15. Now the second part of the rule is we're going to use the common signs. In this case, the same signs, the sign they both have is negative. So that means your answer is negative. So -8 plus -7 is -15. Last example, 13 plus -22. Again, you should know by now that they have different signs. So we're going to use rule 2 to do addition. So we're simply going to subtract -22 by 13. So So it's going to be 22 minus 13, and you're going to get 9. And we're going to compare the absolute value between 13 and negative 22. In this case, negative 22 is larger than 13. So we're going to use the sign of negative 22. In this case, is negative. So that means your answer is 13 plus negative 22 is negative 9. Let's have a few more examples. Negative 4 plus negative 9. In this case, which rule are we using? Rule 1. So 4 plus 9 is 13. And since they're both negatives, your answer should be negative 2. So 4 plus negative 9 is negative 13. Last example, 18 plus negative 11 is 1. Again, check if it's addition. In this case, it's addition, so we're using addition rule. Which rule? Well, since we have a positive and a negative number, we're going to use rule 2. Again, rule 2 is we're going to subtract the absolute value of the two numbers. So the absolute value of 18 is 18. The absolute value of negative 11 is 11, and we will subtract those two numbers to get 7. And since 18, the absolute value of 18 is larger than the absolute value of negative 11, we're going to use the sign of negative 18, my bad, positive 18, which is positive. So that means 18 plus negative 11 is positive 7. Again, this does not work like multiplication, which we will talk about later. In multiplication, negative times negative gives you positive. Here it doesn't happen. Look at the example above. We got negative 13. Negative with positive doesn't necessarily give us negative. Here we have positive, negative. We give you positive. And the other one is negative plus a negative. Positive plus a negative is negative. So it doesn't really have a straightforward rule like negative times positive is negative. It's a different rule, types of rule. So here's some practice. I'll give you some minutes to do it, or you can pause the video here to do these problems. So negative 7 plus 13 should give you guys positive 5. Negative 2 plus negative 20. Negative 12 plus negative 20 is negative 32. 15 plus negative 8 should give you guys negative 7. Negative 2 plus negative 2 is negative 4. 2 plus negative 2 is 0. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0. Now let's try multiple additions. So we have negative 2 plus 4 plus negative 11. So to do this, you're just going to do it by 2 at a time. So in this case, we have negative 2 plus 4. They have different signs, so we subtract. 4 minus 2 is 2. And since 4 is the larger, we have a positive 2. Now we're just going to add 2 plus negative 11. They have different signs, so what do? Subtract. 11 minus 2 is 9. And since negative 11 has a larger absolute value, the answer is negative. Six plus negative 2 is 4. 4 plus negative 5 is negative 11. And then last example, plus 1 plus negative 10 is negative 9. Now we're going to add negative 9 plus negative 18. They're same signs, they're both negative, so we add 9 plus 8 is 17. They have a common sign of negative, so your answer is negative. Negative 17 plus 9 is negative 8. Now we have subtraction. By now you should know how to do 12 minus 3, right? This is just positive minus positive, so there's no special rules for that. 12 minus 3 is 9. If you do it by fingers, you get 9. Do it mentally, still get 9. Now here's a question. What is 12 plus negative 3? Again, we have addition and we have sign numbers, so we're going to do addition rule. Addition rule is different signs. What do we do? We subtract. 12 minus 3 is 9. And which one's the larger number? Absolute value wise, 12. So that means your answer is positive. So that means 12 plus negative 3 is positive 9. So what does this tell us? We have 12 minus 3 equals 9, and 12 plus negative 3 equals 9. Well, it tells us that subtracting and adding the negative is basically the same thing. So we can change a subtraction problem to an addition problem, and this really helps us. However, we simply cannot go from 10 minus 7 to 10 plus 7, right? We cannot do that. 10 minus 7 will give you 3, 10 plus 7 is 17. This one gives you both the same answers. So we cannot go from 1 to 1. We cannot go from minus to plus. To change 10 minus 7 to an addition problem, not only we're going to change the negative to a positive, not only we're going to change the minus to plus, we also change the ladder number, in this case 7, to the opposite. Do you guys remember opposite? Opposite of 7 is negative 7. In general, A minus B will be changed to A plus the opposite of B. Not just negative, okay? We'll get into that later. Again, A and B are just numbers, any kinds of number you can think of, you can make fractions to. And this part, again, is opposite, not minus, or not negative. Now let's have an example. Negative 3 minus 10. And we read this as negative 3 minus 10. And what we want to change is the minus. What is the minus here? Is this the minus or is this the minus? This is the minus. So we're going to change this one. So again, we're just going to leave negative 3 as is. And we're going to change minus to plus. But again, we're just not going to change. We're not just going to copy 10 here. We're also going to change 10 to the opposite of 10. So in this case, what's the opposite of 10? Negative 10. So negative 3 plus negative 10 will be 10 will become negative 10. So your new problem will be negative 3 plus negative 10. Again, now we have an addition problem. So we're going to do the addition rule. Negative 3 plus negative 10 is negative 13 because of the addition rule. If you still don't get addition rule, go back to previous problems and do it again. Because to do subtraction, you need to do addition. Let's have few more problems. 12 minus 17. Again, we have a minus problem, and we're going to change that to addition problem. So again, we're going to change this minus to addition. 12 stays as is. The minus becomes positive. The minus becomes plus, and 17 becomes the opposite of itself. In this case, it's going to be negative 17. Now we have 12 plus negative 17. And now we're going to do the addition rule. They have different signs. Different signs, what do? Subtract the absolute value. 17 minus 12 is positive. 17 minus 12 is 5. And which one's the larger number, absolute value wise? Negative 17. So that means your answer will be negative. Now let's have the next problem. 5 minus negative 6. Again, we're going to read this as 5 minus negative 6, not 5 minus minus 6. And again, we're going to change the minus. So which one is the minus here? Is this the minus, or this one's the minus? This is the minus. This part is the minus, so we're going to change that part. We're not going to change this one. Now we're going to leave 5 as is, as you can see. We're going to change minus to plus. And now we're going to change negative 6 to the opposite of negative 6. What is the opposite of negative 6? 6. Positive 6. You kind of see where's the problem. Where's the problem if we thought that this is just a negative. If we're just going to change the minus to a positive negative. In this case, in this problem, we're going to run into a problem. If we're going to change this part to a minus, it's going to be minus 6. It's going to be negative 6. And you're still going to simplify that to a positive 6, but that's a lot of work. So it's easier to interpret this part as opposite. So in this case, instead of having a double negative, we're going to have the opposite of 6. Opposite of negative 6. In this case, 6. So what is 5 plus 6? Again, we don't need to do additional. This is both positive numbers. 5 plus 6 is 11. Last one. Last example. Negative 3 minus negative 8. We're going to change that to addition. Negative 3 plus, and then the opposite of negative 8 is positive 8. Negative 3, now we have a negative 3 plus 8 is 5. Negative 3 plus 8 is equals to 5. Now last one, negative 7 minus 2. Again, we're going to change this one to a subtraction addition problem. The minus becomes plus, the opposite of 2 becomes negative 2. Negative 7 plus negative 2 should give you guys negative 9. Another way to look at it is, if you don't want to recall, negative change, my bad, minus change to plus opposite, is to always know that we're not going to change from one sign to, we're either going to change from one sign to two signs or two signs to one sign. So 2 signs to 1 sign or 1 sign to 2 signs. But we're never going to change in any 1-to-1 ratio. range. So it's never going to be minus to plus or minus to plus to minus. It's going to be 2 to 1 or 1 to 2. So that's, I want you guys to have some practice. Here's some practice problems. You can pause here, but let's move on. Now let's try addition and subtraction in one problem. So that to tackle this kind of question, we're just going to change all the minus. So first, don't change the plus signs, because plus signs is what you want. So we have 7 minus 8 minus negative 5 minus 1, and we're going to change all the minuses to positive. To add. So let's start with this one. 7 minus 8 will actually give you 7 stays as is. 7 minus change to plus, 8 turns to negative 8. Now we're going to change this part into a addition problem. Again, you should not recall that 8 already turned to negative 8, so we only need to deal with minus negative 5 minus change to plus. Negative opposite of negative 5 is positive 5. Last problem, minus change to plus, and the opposite of positive 1 is negative 1. So now we have a new problem, 7 plus negative 8 plus 5 plus negative 1, and you do it pretty much part by part. 7 plus 8 plus 7 plus 8, now 7 plus negative 8 should give you guys negative 1, and then negative 1 plus 5 should give you guys 4, and 4 plus negative 1 should give you guys positive 3. And now you guys choose to practice by yourself. Now let's consider this kind of problem. What is the one? Consider negative of negative 8 plus negative 9. This is already an addition, so we don't need to change this part. But what can we change then? Can we already add? No, it's kind of hard for us to add negative of negative 8 plus negative 9. We need to simplify this part. Again, if you recall the previous parts, how to simplify this part, think of this as what's the opposite of negative 8 is positive. What is the opposite of negative 8? Well, it's 8. Again, we're just going to leave this part as is. So 8 plus negative 9 is negative 1. So we have another clarification. So now we're going to have subtraction and multiplication.